Taiwan is bursting with heaps of fun places to explore. Join me, Amber Hatfield, as I hit up travel hotspots, soak up some culture, and hunt down hidden gems. Let's go! Hello, and welcome back to Let's Go. I'm your host, Amber Hatfield. In recent episodes of the show, we've explored countries surrounding Taiwan, just a short flight away. We talked about Thailand and South Korea, both easily accessible with direct flights under 4 hours from Taipei. The Philippines is no different, with flights from Taipei to Manila taking just under 2.5 hours and round-trip tickets costing as little as 3,000 NT dollars. The Philippines is undoubtedly an excellent travel option when you're in Taiwan. The Philippines is an archipelago of over 7,000 islands. It's a vibrant and diverse country located in Southeast Asia. Known for its stunning natural beauty, rich cultural heritage, and warm hospitality of the Filipino people. The Philippines offers a unique blend of history, tradition, and modernity. From its bustling capital city of Manila to the pristine beaches of Boracay and Palawan, the Philippines is a destination that captivates travelers from all around the world. Joining me today on the show is Maryanne Sioco, my friend and colleague who hails from the Philippines herself. So Maryanne, where in the Philippines are you from?
I'm from Manila.
I've only ever been to Manila to transfer to another flight to go somewhere else in the Philippines. Haven't actually stayed in Manila before. Is Manila a place that you would recommend people stay in, to visit?
If you like city life, yes. If you like arts, like culture, yes. If you like going to the beaches, no.
So there's no beaches in Manila?
It's not in the city itself. There are some areas that you can drive to from Manila, but usually I would recommend going to the different islands if you like the beach life, right? So, it's a big city, so it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah. Manila is on the main, the largest island of Luzon, right?
Yes.
So I've actually, again, never been around that island because I think maybe that island doesn't have the kind of beaches that people imagine when they think of the Philippines, white, sandy, beautiful blue ocean kind of beaches. I think I've heard that in that island you can also do surfing and stuff like that. The beaches are a bit different. They're not this kind of tropical vibe of the rest of the Philippines.
Yes. I would say that if you're into architecture, like Luzon, there are areas in northern Luzon that you can go to. But you can also go to Cebu, which is in the middle part of the archipelago, if you want to look into historical architecture. Manila, I feel, offers more of a city life type of vibe. So if you're into shopping, if you're into the arts, Manila would be the place to go. If you, like I said, if you want a more laid back type of vacation, then go to the islands. They would be more suitable to you.
Speaking about going to the islands made me think about when I've traveled to the Philippines before. I've traveled a few times from Taiwan and I've mainly spent my time on the islands. My very first trip in the Philippines was in 2016. I went to a tiny island called Malapascua Island. It's off the northern tip of the island of Cebu. Malapascua itself is only around 2.5 by 1 kilometer in size. And as of 2020, the island had an estimated population of only just over 6,200 people. Most of the islanders there derive their livelihood from tourism, while some of them still rely on fishing and farming. Now, why did I choose to go to Malapascua? At times, I can be a bit of a random traveler, and I don't always plan in a very detailed way. So I can't recall exactly why I chose Malapascua as my destination, but it would have been something to do with diving. Malapascua has been a popular dive destination since the 1990s. I'd previously attained my open water dive certification when I was in Borneo traveling, so I wanted to do some diving in the Philippines. There's an opportunity in Malapascua to dive at this area called the Monad Shoal. It's an underwater plateau where there are thresher sharks and manta rays, and you can sight them regularly. I dove with the thresher sharks, and it was such an awesome experience to see them close up. Thresher sharks are named for their exceptionally long tail, this thresher-like tail or caudal fin, which can be as long as the total body length of the shark. And thresher sharks are active predators. So they use their tail to stun their prey like a weapon. And they're solitary creatures as well. They keep to themselves. And they're one of the only shark species that is known to fully jump out of the water. They use their tail to propel them out of the water, making turns like a dolphin, which is called breaching. If you look online for thresher sharks, you may see pictures of this, of thresher sharks jumping out of the water quite high up out of the water. I didn't see this myself when I was diving in the Philippines, but it is a really interesting behavior of thresher sharks. For me, Malapascua was a really wonderful experience, and I enjoyed the laid-back atmosphere. In general, I think the islands of the Philippines do have quite a laid-back and relaxed atmosphere to them. I think that's just island life probably in general. However, Malapascua is definitely a long journey to get to. I remember I took a flight from Taipei to Manila, and then from Manila to Cebu Airport. And then from Cebu Airport, you have to take a bus. The bus goes from Cebu up to the north of Cebu Island to a place called Maya Port, which is the northern tip of Cebu. And from there, you have to take a small boat to Malapascua Island. I remember on my boat, there were quite a lot of people on it, and the people had bags and everything as well. By the time we got near to the island, at one point, another boat had to come over and help take some bags off because we were pretty low in the water. Almost felt like we were going to sink or something. But the water at that point wasn't very deep. But it was definitely an interesting experience. In our interview, I asked Maryanne a little bit about travel in the Philippines and about how getting around and traveling in the Philippines compares to getting around and traveling in Taiwan. And so if someone was traveling from Taiwan to the Philippines, because they're pretty close by flight, you can get to Manila within around 2.5 hours from Taipei.
Yes.
If someone decided, oh, I want to go to Philippines after my trip in Taiwan, how can they expect it to vary or be different from Taiwan? What are the kind of main differences that they might notice?
Okay. First things first, Taiwan is an island nation. So what that means is traveling around Taiwan is a lot easier. You will notice that the transportation system here is very good. You don't have to fly to go to somewhere else. You can take the HSR, you can take the bus. It's pretty convenient. Whereas the Philippines is an archipelago. So that means using different types of transportation to go to where you want to go. It's not very far off for you to fly, then take, a bus, a car, or a boat somewhere. So I think going to the Philippines, if you want to travel around, and if that is really your plan, you have to kind of expect that transportation is not, it's convenient in the sense that it's there and it's available, but the time to travel around is different. It's something that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Especially if we have different types of travelers too, right? So if you prefer ease of travel and convenience, expect to spend more money if you travel around, right? Whereas if you're a budget traveler, then you'll have to spend more time on the road.
Yeah.
That type of thing. And obviously, what goes with that would be the inconvenience of making those arrangements as well. If, let's say, for example, from Taipei, you fly to Cebu, then you want to go to an island somewhere, then most likely you'll take a plane, a bus, and then a boat to go somewhere. And then it's likely you could spend like 5 to 6 hours simply traveling before you actually get to your destination.
Yeah. So even though it's easy to get to Manila, it's not as easy to get to necessarily the small island that you're trying to get to.
That's right.
Speaking with Maryanne about this, about the travel and getting to different islands, reminded me of my most recent trip in the Philippines, which was last year in 2023. I went to the island of Palawan. Palawan is located in the Mimaropa region. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Excuse me if I got it wrong. And Palawan actually stretches across a vast expanse of 450 kilometers from north to south. So it's quite a long island. And the island is renowned for having stunning natural beauty, very pristine beaches, rich biodiversity. And it's a top destination for travelers in the Philippines because of these reasons. One of the main attractions you can actually go to in Palawan is in Puerto Princesa, which is the capital or the main city on that island. It's world famous. It's a subterranean river park. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the new 7 wonders of nature. This is an underground river system. I didn't go there myself when I went to Palawan, but I do intend to go back to Palawan again and to see this in Puerto Princesa. You can go on a boat through the underground river system, which is surrounded by these spectacular limestone formations. So it's something that's definitely on my list for next time. In the trip I went on last year, I didn't even go to Puerto Princesa. I flew directly to a place called El Nido. So I skipped that out entirely, but next time it's on my list. Palawan is also home to the breathtaking Bacuit archipelago. Also not sure if I'm saying that correctly, Bacuit archipelago. This is where I went on my trip last year. These are some towering limestone cliffs and they meet this crystal clear turquoise water. And this is a place you can get to from El Nido on a boat tour. So El Nido is in the northern part of Palawan. And it basically serves as a gateway for all the tours going to this archipelago and a number of lagoons and stunning beaches. And it's a really great trip. However, this is really a well-known tourist destination to go to El Nido and do these boat trips. So there are a lot of boat trips going out every day. There are a lot of boats, which is great if you want to have the opportunity to go and see the archipelago and go and see all the lagoons. However, just be aware of that. Beware of the times that you go, and you may feel like there are quite a lot of tourists, which might not be what you're wanting. So just be aware of that. Also, just like anywhere where you're going to be getting in the water with corals and fish and things like that, just be sure don't stand on any of the corals and make sure that you use reef safe sunscreen and all those things when you're getting in the water so as not to further damage the biodiversity and the environment in the area. So going back to transport and how to get to Palawan, we were a bit unlucky during our trip in Palawan as we didn't really consider that it was going to be typhoon season starting. So typhoon season starts around July in the Philippines, and we went there at the end of June. So we were on the shoulder of the season, and we very unluckily hit the first typhoon of the season. So the first typhoon of the season was hitting Palawan as we were getting there. So we got a few good days, but the trip took a bit of a stressful turn as this typhoon started to home in on Palawan itself. We had planned half of our trip to be in El Nido and half of our trip to be in Coron. Coron is an island that lies further north of Palawan, but it is part of the Palawan province. And Coron is famous for these awe-inspiring dive sites, and it has numerous shipwrecks from World War II, and it's a paradise for divers. People say it has very pristine waters. And to get from El Nido to Coron, you can either take a ferry, which takes around 5 hours, or you can fly, which takes only around 40 minutes. Originally, we wanted to take the ferry, but all the ferries were cancelled. We ended up getting a flight. However, when we got our flight to Coron, our flight was cancelled due to some unforeseeable circumstances, we had to wait for the next day to catch our flight, and we caught our flight, and when we got to Coron, the weather was miserable. The typhoon really came in hard. It was very windy, very rainy. We couldn't go out on any boat trips, and the flights out of Coron were then being cancelled. So my friend who had come over from the UK was very concerned because she had to get back to Manila to get her international flight, and she was worried she wouldn't be able to get that. So she ended up going home a day earlier to make sure she could get on her flight. And I had 2 flight cancellations and ended up back in Taiwan a couple of days after I should have done. So be aware that transportation in the Philippines can also be affected by the weather. When there are storms, typhoons, this may affect your plans. So as Maryanne was saying, it's definitely not as easy as just in Taiwan, hop on an HSR, hop on a train and get around the island easily. You definitely have to factor in more things when traveling in the Philippines. Thanks for joining me for the first episode of my journey to the Philippines episodes of Let's Go. In next week's episode, we will be talking again with Maryanne and discussing some of the differences that travelers will feel or see between Taiwan and the Philippines. We're also going to get to a fun topic, which is Filipino food, which Maryanne is very excited about. She'll tell us about her favorite Filipino dishes and what foods to try if you go to the Philippines. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing you again next week in our next episode of Let's Go. See you then. You're tuning in to Radio Taiwan International, Taiwan's national broadcaster. Here at RTI, we have a range of entertaining and informative content for you to enjoy. You can find all of our content on our website at en.rti.org.tw. That's en.rti.org.tw for news, shows, and more. We're also on shortwave radio. If you're residing in South Asia, we broadcast from 1600 to 1700 UTC at 9405 kilohertz. From all of us here at RTI, we wish you a lovely day.